Darn, I thought I had turned it on already. Okay, and I'm just going to close my window because sometimes the planes are loud. Just 1 second. So I'm sure you're no stranger to setting intentions or wanting to make shifts and changes in life. And sometimes we can set an intention and we don't see any movement, or we wonder why it is that we can't change a habit or a pattern, in a way of being, a way of thinking. And it's because it requires more than simply setting the intention. The intention allows us to become aware of, and awareness is step one, right? Becoming aware of the thing that we would like to experience differently. But there are beliefs that are stored within the subconscious. So if I would like to experience abundance, and that's the intention that I set, like I want to be available and allow abundance to express in life. But in the back, deep within the subconscious, I have a belief that I'm not meant to have money, or I'm not worthy of having an amazing home or a job that generates money easily in large quantities, kind of thing, or that my services, don't merit payment, kind of thing, which a lot of people that end up working in spirituality have an issue, right, with charging for their services. So that will get in the way of the intention that I'm setting until this belief gets dissolved. And it's not like we can take it and throw it in the trash. It actually has to be looked at, have a light shined upon it, and then we have to love it so much that we integrate it back into the fold of the wholeness of what we are. And now we're going to go into the 5 principles of the energy codes, which are: everything is energy, is the first one. Your life is a reflection of your energy. You are the creator of your life. Your creation and your life is always expanding. And the purpose of your life is to discover your creatorship. So if everything is energy and energy can never be destroyed, then we got to take these thought patterns, these beliefs that are just a form of energy, and transmute it, transform it, bring it back into the fold, right, of the wholeness of what we are. And this applies to anything, whether it's financial, whether it's health, whether it's love. It's like you can't, I remember a long time ago, I had a dream where I saw the darkness of the world, and it was the size of King Kong, and it was in a cage. And I was like Jessica Lange on top of the cage looking at it. And my first thought was, I have to destroy you. But simultaneously, I had the awareness of, oh, you cannot be destroyed. You have to be transmuted. And the only way to transmute you is through love. And then I had another awareness where I realized it wasn't the darkness of the world that I was looking at. That was simply the darkness that I carried within myself. All the thoughts of unworthiness, all the ways that I didn't match up, all the self-criticism of the mind that goes on a regular basis, all the ways in which I don't hold myself lovingly as I'm moving through difficult circumstances, create this kind of energy within us. Um, so your life is a reflection of your energy. When we look at it from that perspective, um, we can use our life as a way of dialoguing to see how it is that we're doing at any given point. So if this is my energy field here, and actually, let me grab an image or share an image with you. Let's see. Mhm. It won't let me access that one. This one it will. Let's see. Oh, let me open the one I saved for you guys. So let me grab the hard copy. Hold on. Okay. So let's say that. So this is our energy field here. And depending on the beliefs that we're holding, whatever thoughts we're thinking, whatever ways we're feeling, any emotional stuff that hasn't been processed yet, that we weren't able to process at a certain time, ends up showing up in our energy field, right? Because it creates a distortion. So first it creates the distortion at the level of energy. And if we address it at the level of energy through everything that we're going to be reviewing through the book study, then it doesn't have to project onto the screen of your life, because we're constantly addressing it at the level of energy before it shows up at the level of physical matter. So what ends up happening is the thing that happened when I was 5 got stored there. The thing that happened when I was 12 got stored there. The other thing that happened when I was 23 got stored there. And I didn't know about the energy codes back then. Right? I didn't know that that tap on the shoulder was trying to simply let me know that there was something that was creating a distortion within my energy field through these unprocessed emotions. And so then it would, to try and get my attention, it would project itself onto the screen of my life. And I would have difficulty or challenges. But we never need to allow it to get to that level once we become aware of this information. For example, when the autoimmune condition showed up for me in 2004, and I began to lose mobility, up until that point, I refused to pay attention to me. Everybody else was a priority, right? Whether it was my mother, my siblings, my husband at the time, my son, my bosses, my friends, my coworkers. Never did I want to go in here, right? Let me just focus on you. Let me help you, because that makes me feel good, right? It's where I would get my sense of well-being. Oh, never mind Cynthia. She's okay. She's always okay. She's incredibly strong, right? These people need me. So eventually, this autoimmune condition had to show up to where I was losing mobility and I had no choice but to take my body to the doctor, to start to look at the relationships in my life that were not supportive, healthy, and toxic, right? And start to eliminate the things that were not good for me. Actually begin to even sit with that question. Is this something that's good for me? Or is it hurtful? And that was the beginning of that. And I'm sure it didn't have to come to that point, but the level of sleepness, of unawareness was so dense that it had to be something big, right? To get my attention. So now it's like my check engine light can go on in the car and I'm like, what are you trying to tell me? Like there's nothing that, and I used to laugh at myself because, or when I think of myself then, and I reflect now, I remember I used to feel like an ostrich because I would like put my head into the ground, right? And refuse to look at what was obviously not right in my life. So if life is a reflection of my energy, we can let go of the judgment around anything that might be happening, of it being good or bad, right or wrong, but just use it as data, as information as to where there might be something that we're holding or carrying within our energy field. And when we look at, you are the creator of your life. So many people think that they're at the mercy of the external events, the external individuals. And what's possible for us is to be in a state of joy and happiness, regardless of outside circumstances. And when we realize that we are the creators of our life, just simply by working with our energy field and constantly cleaning it, right? Then our life is going to reflect a very pristine and vibrant energy field back to us. And so we were able to step out of survival, addressing emergencies, healing the body, healing our finances, to, oh, I'm here as creator. What would I like to create today? What would I like to create in this lifetime? What do I want my legacy to be? So we get to shift from that kind of putting out fires kind of thing to freeing up all this energy to access and create something that's beneficial, not only to us, but to humanity at large, to the world, which is why we're here. And your creation is always expanding, right? God is infinite, and we're created in its image and its likeness. We're not able to remain stagnant without it becoming painful and uncomfortable. We're not well versed at change, but we start to adopt the position of I am change. So if life is always moving, think of it as a river, and it's like somebody has plugged it up with a bunch of boulders. Then whatever is in the way, we start to remove those boulders out of the way so that that energy can flow more freely through our lives. And this river can explore terrain, from the mountaintop, and then get to hang out at some beautiful scenic point. There's just it never stops moving, and so neither do we. Our creation is always expanding. And a lot of people think that they don't know why they're here. And everyone's overall purpose is to discover that they are here as creator. God can experience more of itself to the degree that you and I say, have full sway. You have a blanket yes for me to create through this body. And let's do this together. And I'm willing to do anything. Just make it very easy for me. Right? Because at first it feels like pain and trauma, and we grow, but it's like, I don't need to grow. And I'm in full surrender. And surrender, not like white flag surrender, but like I'm done resisting the creative impulse that wants to express through me. What do you want to do, God? What are we doing today? So those are the five principles of the energy codes that we'll be working with, and then I'll include those in your email so that you have them. Any questions or comments so far? Michelle.
I love all this so much. I have it printed so my kids can start to absorb this too. They're 7 and 9. Cleaning your energy, is that channel breathing? Is channel breathing cleaning your energy?
Mm-hmm.
And best practice, does that clean your energy too?
Yes. So,
excellent.
Right. So we're going to start with the basics. So the central channel breath is a way to build circuits. And then the way that so we're installing wiring in the city. So like consider this a big city, and certain parts of the city are in blackout mode. So we need to go in there and install wiring. And so you build circuitry and install wiring through the central channel breath. And the central channel breath also helps to disseminate the density of the energy that is stuck in the energy field. So when I'm feeling pressure in my heart, fear in my belly, tension in my shoulder, a lump in my throat because I can't get out what I want to say, kind of thing, then I can central channel breathe through the particular area where I'm feeling the density, because that's where the emotional stuck trauma is. And so let's begin there, right? Because the central channel breath is the basis for everything else that we're going to be learning and working with. So let me grab my other poster. So before we start breathing, we're going to engage these 4 anchor points. This is the first one. It's called Mula Bandha. And you engage that one at the root chakra by simply squeezing the muscle that you would use to stop your urine midstream. And it doesn't have to be like very hard. You can squeeze it at first and then release it by half. And that would be the appropriate degree of pressure. The second one is at the heart level. And by pushing the shoulder blades back, it opens up the heart chakra right away. And then the third one is at the throat. And the way to engage the throat chakra is by simply bringing your neck slightly back so that like the double chin gets activated. And it brings the back of the neck into alignment with the spine. So that's how we activate the throat chakra. And then the fourth one is we want to activate the third eye. And the way to activate that chakra is by looking up at the middle of your forehead with your eyes closed. So now having those 4 anchor points engaged, you have tethered the higher self, the soul, which is this part of you, into your physical body. It tethers it kind of like those balloons that you see at tax time outside the tax offices that are like going, "Ooh, come here." So it tethers it at the root. We're telling the soul, come on into the body, all the way in, so that I can experience more of myself, my true self in this physical form. And so then to start the breath work, once all of these are engaged, then you take a breath in from 2 feet above your head through your crown, and all of it is done through the nose. So you're going to take a breath in from above your head into your heart. And then you're going to exhale from the heart through the soles of your feet, 2 feet into the earth. And then you're going to breathe up from 2 feet below where you're sitting through the soles of your feet into your heart or your belly, wherever feels right to you. And then we exhale through the crown. And then let's take another breath in from overhead into the heart or the belly. And exhale 2 feet into the earth. Okay, and then you can come back. And so I would like you to do this breathing as we're sitting here in class, and you don't have to do the close your eyes portion or the throat, but you can always have your shoulder blades back, which opens the heart. And you can become very well versed at being able to squeeze Kegel and simply do deep breathing while we're studying. Because I believe somebody mentioned that they wanted to embody the teachings. So that way we're taking it in on an energy level, on a cellular level. It's recording itself within the physical body, making it a living teaching, right? Because it gets stored in you. And any other time that you remember to do the central channel breath, whether you do it full out with eyes closed, throat engaged, heart, Mula Bandha, or you do the modified version with just Mula Bandha and heart and deep breathing, do it all the time, every time you remember, whether you're in the car driving, whether you just got up from bed and you're making coffee. And I see what, Yolanda, you have a question or comment?
Yeah, you had mentioned like if you feel a heaviness in your heart or something and you wanted central channel breathe through that area, how do you do that? Do you just go into the heart, then go back up, or do you still go all the way down?
Actually, yeah, you go all the way down, but stopping at the point of where you feel the heaviness in the body, making that the point in the body where you change directions with the breathing. So if it's in the heart, then you would stop there and then exhale from there. Well, and then you want to bring loving presence to that area. And the way that I work with generating loving presence is thinking of myself as a newborn child that is innocent and deserves nothing more than all the nurturing and the love in the world. Right. So bringing that level of awareness to that area and then central channel breathing through it.
Okay. And you can do that, like say the feeling is in the gut, the solar plexus, you can stop there and change direction there.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Thanks.
So if you have a pain in your knee, you can visualize yourself like inhaling into the knee and then exhaling from there. So wherever in the body you feel the density or the pain. Okay. Iretta?
I got a question based on her question. So if I'm breathing into whatever body part that has the pain or the issue, when on the exhale, are we exhaling back? Like we're inhaling from above our head, and when we exhale, are we exhaling low, through 2 feet below, or are we exhaling back up through the same channel?
Right. So a complete channel breath is inhaling from above and then exhaling below, and then inhaling from below and exhaling through the top. And it could start vice versa, right? Like you could breathe up from the earth and exhale through the crown, but I always start the opposite way.
Okay.
And yeah, and so the reason why I have you guys breathe into 2 feet below, and this is like getting a little bit ahead of us, but so we have 7 chakras in the body, which we'll go over. But there's chakra 8 is about here. Chakra 9 is about here. So 8 is your life purpose. 9 is your soul purpose. 10, chakra 10 is where you packed everything that you were going to need to fulfill your legacy in this life. So when I'm having you breathe into 2 feet below where you're sitting or standing at any point, you're accessing the overnight bag that you packed for this incarnation and everything that you would need along the way. You're accessing the support of Mother Earth. You're accessing your overnight bag. And it's where you put everything that you are going to need to reach your own Christ consciousness, your own Buddha enlightenment. So we may or may not accomplish it in this lifetime, but that chakra 10 goes with you, reincarnation after reincarnation. It's accessible to us. Lucy.
I have a question. You pointed up, you pointed above your head, chakra 8, chakra 9, chakra 10.
So chakra 10's below us, but 8 and 9 are above us.
Okay, that was my confusion.
Okay. Deb?
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So when we pack the bag to come, is it possible that what we packed would include conditions that we may not, but we may wish we did not have? So
Yes.
for instance, I'm thinking of Stephen Hawking, for instance, right? He was an amazing creator,
Mm-hmm.
and he had this physical situation. He lived long beyond most. So how do we look at that in terms of healing?
And so I think we're going to get into the bus stop conversation next week. I think it'll be part of our reading, but it's a part of the bus stop conversation. So the bus stop conversation is where we hang out prior to coming here to Earth, and we put in our order for the general overall desire with regards to our expansion. So it's like they give us a menu, or like a sushi menu where you get to check off which ones you want. And some of us might be overly ambitious and check off like all of them. But we don't necessarily know what conditions will be used to facilitate us growing in compassion, us cultivating the ability to love unconditionally, us accessing a level of courage, strength, and power that no one can take from us cultivating a level of self-trust that we're no longer reliant or dependent on the outside world. But we don't know the specifics as to how. We just put in our order. So Stephen Hawkins could not have accomplished all that he accomplished in this lifetime without the special set of circumstances that he had. Okay. But that's why I say repeatedly, so that the universe hears me, make it easy for me. Make it easy. Let me be very clear. Okay. So let's see. Let's talk a little bit about what you were able to glean, or was there anything that stood out based on having read the foreword and the introduction about the teachings, Dr. Sue? Did it cause you to think differently about something? Anything that stood out? Or questions?
I remember that I ran across the lady that does the foreword, Dr. Jill
Bolte.
And I came across her on a TED Talk, I want to say like 3 or 4 years ago, before I ever heard about the energy codes. And I'm someone that does not have a scientific background per se, but it's interesting to me. And I was interested in this TED Talk that popped up, and I was, because they described her background, I was so expecting it to be a purely scientific analysis of what she had experienced. And when it takes a turn toward the end of it, and it takes a real spiritual turn. I remember I was just moved to tears. I didn't see it coming. I didn't. And I guess it was if not the beginning, at least an awareness in me about, oh, it's not either or, it's not this or that. It is all intertwined. But I really do love her TED Talk. It is, and she's so funny in her as she describes this stroke. I mean, and it's even funny. I mean, even the name of it, a stroke of insight, is the name of her talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how she said, well, I was the perfect one to have this stroke because I knew what was going on, as opposed to someone experiencing it without any medical knowledge. They experience it on one level. She was experiencing it on a physical level and then on a cerebral understanding. And I just found it fascinating, just fascinating.
Yeah.
That's all.
For those of you that aren't familiar with Jill Bolte, the woman that wrote the Foreword, she was a scientist and researcher at one of the major universities. I don't remember which one. And she suffered a stroke. And when she went to pick up the phone to call the ambulance, she thought she was speaking English, but it sounded like gibberish to the people on the other end of the line.
Yeah.
And luckily, she was still able to get help. But she met Dr. Sue years after the stroke. And Dr. Sue helped her to rebalance her brain, I should say. And I didn't know, I feel like we get exposed to more and more. The longer we hang out with Dr. Sue, the more information I get. And the other day I went to my spiritual best practitioner who works on me. And I told her, I don't know a whole lot about anything. I go, but is it possible that there's something happening between the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere? Because I feel like there's a merging happening. And she looked at me and she almost scolded me. She goes, you know everything. You're connected to the one mind. But it turns out that that's part of what happens the longer we hang out in this work. The right hemisphere and the left hemisphere start to merge together, which allows us to stop seeing life through the lens of duality and allows us to step into knowing our oneness with everything. So it's part of the effects, part of something that happens through these teachings and this work that we do. But when we first come into this world, right, there's hot and cold, black and white. It's a world of duality and polarity. And so there's a healing of the mind that gets to happen over time, where you just see the oneness of it all. Of course, I'm not quite there yet, but I feel like something's happening. All right, anybody else? Comments, questions about the forward or introduction? Michelle? No? Okay. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, right, these are not new teachings. They're fairly new to us. But the more I dive into like researching Yeshua, Jesus, and then the spiritual practices that he employed as he was preparing himself for his own legacy for the world, I find references to the importance of being aware of the conscious and the subconscious, just like the energy codes completely focuses on it. So when Jesus says it is done to you as you believe, that's the conscious and the subconscious, right? It's like we can think one thing, but it's really what's in the subconscious that creates our experiences. And only 5% of our experiences are created from this portion, and 95% of them are created from the subconscious. So these teachings really, truly are very ancient. let's see, the importance of epigenetics. I am no scientist, have never been a fan necessarily, right, of chemistry or biology, but I was fascinated as I started to learn about the effects that our thoughts have on the chemistry that's created within the brain that gets released into the body through the hormones that it creates and the other chemical formulas that are released that allow us to feel joy and happiness. So a long time ago, when I went to a healer, when the autoimmune condition first showed up and I got diagnosed, and I went from the Mayo Clinic after getting the diagnosis to Colorado to work with Rob Morgan, who was in the Heal documentary. And when I showed up to see him, he put his hand on my back and he said, "What have you been thinking?" And at the time, I considered myself a wonderful person because I used to help so many people. But I totally ignored me, right? Constantly, day after day, numerous times a day, would turn my back on my own self. It's like self-sacrifice. And then there were thoughts of resentment, right? Because why can't so-and-so behave this way or be more loving or see the wonderfulness in me, blah, blah, blah. And so when I got diagnosed, I think I was about 34 years old. So imagine that many years worth of those kind of thoughts, creating the chemistry in my body, and how it affects me physically in every way. So when they say it's important to think positive, but there's some subconscious belief back here that doesn't allow me to know it as a truth and a reality, then I got to get in there and I got to clean house, right? And I'm going to use my life, the projector, the movie playing out on the screen to let me know what's hanging out in here. Because that's all it's trying to do is get my attention. And when we're addressing it constantly on a regular basis, there's no need for conditions to show up in the body. There's no need for financial emergencies and whatever other way life tries to get our attention. Because we're ever vigilant, right? Working together. So we're mind, body, breath complexes, breath meaning spirit. And for so long, we have gone at it at the level of mind with our intellect, analyzing, some of us overanalyzing, overthinking. Anybody? Anybody?
I like the term analysis paralysis.
Meaning what, Lucy? What does it do?
You think into nothing. You're just stuck there in your thoughts.
Exactly. So, but for a long time, people have been talking so poorly, right, about the ego / mind / protective personality, which that's what Dr. Sue calls it now. She refers to it as a protective personality because she says you say ego and people cringe. Nobody wants to have an ego. But everybody has a protective personality. Like it's, it's more easily accepted. The ego's job is to keep us safe, to keep us alive, so that we don't walk into oncoming traffic. So that if we're about to walk off a ledge, we don't, because it needs to we need the body alive in order to be able to be here to fulfill our soul mission and our life mission. So the ego is very much afraid of the unknown and change. And it's worked so hard to establish this level of okayness, right? So as we start central channel breathing and we're engaging the 4 anchor points, and the soul is starting to come into the body, which is that image. Let me bring it up. This is a selfie of you, right? So you start up here at the Godhead. The Godhead is the sun. And then here's your higher self, and your higher self has been trying to get into your physical body for the longest time. But when it still wasn't fully here, you had to function at the level of the mind, of the ego, to keep yourself safe. So we're mind, body, breath complexes, and all of those things are supposed to work together. So up until now, it was primarily ego and body trying to survive. But now we're like, this is the boots on the ground version of you. Hello, can you come on in, come on home? We're tired. We need you. So then more of you starts to come in here, and the ego goes, where have you been? I've had to do this all by myself. And so then it takes its rightful place in the passenger seat, because it knows that the higher self is in charge, that it's home. And then the ego can be in service to the higher self and to the body. And the body can be in service to the higher self. Everything is supposed to be in service to our higher self. So we want this to happen between the three of them, instead of the ego trying to keep us safe. Like I said, the ego's not well versed at change, right? So we start to accept. So we don't try to like overcome, ignore, or suppress our resistance to change. We actually embody it and bring it into the fold as what we are, because our life is always expanding. We're infinite, like God, right? There's no beginning and no end to us. We're eternal. And so we too are supposed to be in constant state of creating and expression. And the ego just isn't used to it. But we're not trying to kill the ego. We need the ego. It's here to help us stay alive. But once it gets the sense that the higher self has started to fully occupy this home, this body, it can start to let go of its need to control. And in fact, might even be relieved to a degree, right? So it's not a bad thing. We need it all. Questions, comments on that? Okay.
I have a question.
Mhm.
So that cleaning that the subconscious back here, you said you know where, you know how to do that, or you know what needs to be cleaned based on what you see.
Mhm.
Could you give an example of how that would, what I would see and then clean?
Yeah. So, and I just want you to know that I'm not exempt from the growth, right? In any way. In fact, every time I launch a new class, it's like I'm moving through it with you, and things are shifting as much here as they are over there. So for me, the subconscious belief has always been, one of them for me has always been, don't mess with the IRS, right? Signifying that there's a level of fear around them as an entity, and the harm that they can cause a person. But I also set an intention a long time ago, like 2 years ago, probably, to walk this planet as a sovereign being. And what was going to have to happen for me to be able to walk that way here? All the subconscious fears, right, and beliefs that are not in alignment with that intention eventually come up for review. And if I'm unaware, they'll play out on the screen of my life. So getting audited, I think about 1.5 years ago, happened. They ended up auditing me for a couple of the years that the accountant that I have been working with, whenever she took over my taxes, every year that she did, they audited. And then I told her what happened, and she's like, well, pay me so much and I'll represent you in the audit. And then when time came, she just doesn't answer her phone. And then my account starts getting garnished. So then I hire a tax firm to represent me, pay them $4,500 up front. And then they don't return my calls. And it's a year later and I'm like, what the heck is going on? So, and this is still going on for me because it's tax season right now, right? So I finally was able to get somebody on the phone and finish my taxes for this year yesterday. So a day late. And I used to always file my taxes like in February, right? Because I don't mess with the IRS. So I'm like freaking out yesterday, not really. I'm like, how can I hold myself in a loving way as I move through this? And wait and trust that God has got this whole thing that, and I'm like, hey, higher self, I need some help. Can you like come in right now and help me with this physical human thing that's going on? So finally the taxes got done and I was able to submit payment for 2021. But it's like, is this a part of the dissolving of the belief that I needed to be afraid of the IRS? And is this actually allowing me to see that no matter what happens, I can remain centered and grounded, know that I'm taken care of, that the funds that I need to pay for whatever are constantly replenishing themselves without me needing to really struggle in any way? I can let go of the idea that they're a big bad entity that hurts people. So it's like the belief is being dissolved in the moment for me. And it couldn't have happened any other way. If the belief is in the subconscious and I'm unaware of it, how else am I supposed to become aware of it? And I want to say it's probably one of the last, let's say I had 3 big ones, right? One was not having the medicine that I need on a monthly basis. I used to imagine Armageddon happening and then medicine not being able to get to me. So that was one. Being audited by the IRS was another, and becoming homeless because of the trauma that I went through as a kid, right? And the instability of always being kicked out of my house, my husband's house, kind of thing. So I was somewhat aware of these things. And if I say I want to walk this planet as a sovereign being, those 3 things need to come up for review. And then I need to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that none of those things have to apply to me. Not the easiest thing, not the easiest work in the world, but it is incredibly liberating. And once you know who you are, no one can take that from you. So life truly is always working in our favor. Lucy?
No, as you were talking, I was thinking, well, okay, there's that saying about be careful what you pray for. I was like, oh gosh.
Right. It's like we put in our order at the bus stop and we even continue, right, to add to the order once we're here. And we're not really sure. Oh, okay, Deb. Thank you. I'll send you the recording. Have a great day. We don't necessarily know the specifics of how it's going to play out to facilitate the expansion. But make sure it's easy for me. Make sure it's like, I want to grow through grace, which is this, considering how freaked out I used to get about stuff like this, it's been pretty graceful. So I expect a full resolution very soon, regardless of all the money I've had to put into it. God seems to replenish the money very easily for me anyway. And then I could stop putting my energy into remedying this situation. And what do you want to do today, God? What shall we create? So no spiritual bypass. We lean into the experiences that are talking to us. Like, what you got for me? What do you want to do? What are you here to show me? And can I hold myself in a very loving way as I move through the experience? Because I'm sure you guys have had the experience of like something happening over and over and over, and you've probably already gleaned everything that you could from the experience. And you're like, why are you still here? Why is this still happening? Right? Like, have I not learned everything? And the missing component that a lot of people aren't aware of is, in addition to the way that something will grow us, we need to be able to hold ourselves in a field of love from A to Z. And if that doesn't happen, then this process is not complete. And here it comes again. Let's see how compassionate she can be with herself this time. And can she hold that level of compassion throughout the whole thing? And then it can be done with you. It's like, oh, she mastered it. She learned from it. She surrendered to it. And she loved herself through it. Questions? Comments? Sometimes people ask, how do you love yourself through something? For those of you that are familiar with like the visioning process, Reverend Michael, before he asked the 4 empowering questions, like, what is God's vision for my life? What do I need to release? What do I need to become? What gifts do I already have? But the setup for that process is to think of a time in your life when you were loved for simply being you. And it could be like a memory of a grandparent or a time when you were holding your pet. And then he asked us to multiply it, right? Like by 10, and then multiply it again, like by 50, and then like by 100, until we feel so much love within the center of our beingness. And then that's the energy of love that we hold ourselves through as we're moving through these experiences that can be challenging. Because by God, I don't want this one back again. I'm like, it's been nice and all. Okay. So next thing we're going to talk about is the quantum flip. And the quantum flip is, it has 3 parts to the quantum. Oh, Vanessa. No?
Yes,
Yes.
I'm sorry. It came as you switched. So you can tell me. I already know.
I'm not going to tell you that.
So maybe it's a comment, less a question. I've noticed that I am doing better with my channel breathing, and just in accepting this whole concept. I'm more conscious. My consciousness is expanded about it. I'm also noticing that as I do that, and I think we've talked about it before, there is a whole bunch of stuff coming up in my experience that feels like it's the stuff I've been holding. I feel like I'm going like the Benjamin, what's that movie where the kid
Benjamin Button.
Yes, I feel like I'm getting younger and younger and younger and younger and younger and experiencing feeling like that person. I've even lately been wearing my hair in pigtails and recognizing, oh gosh, that's what's happening, right? So this is a part of the whole evidence that I am exploring it,
Yes.
or it up, or looking at it, all of it.
Yeah, I almost feel like we go back in time to collect the versions of ourselves that we may have left behind.
Yeah.
It kind of feels that way sometimes. And Dr. Sue was sharing something the other day about, so not only, so first of all, we tend to carry most of our difficult experiences, unprocessed emotion, scary experiences in chakras 1, 2, and 3. So 1 allows us, when we're not fully living in 1, because it doesn't feel good to go hang out in there because there's stuff that hasn't been addressed yet, right? For 1, 2, and 3, because this is where that stuff gets put away. So chakra 1, when we're fully living in it, when we've gone in there, we've cleaned house and we've claimed it as our own, we go from feeling like we don't belong to realizing that I may not fit in, yet I know I belong everywhere that I go. And I don't need to bend over, change who I am, to know my belongingness now. Right, so that's front side of the model for chakra 1. Chakra 1 allows me to feel connected to the earth. The earth is here to support humanity in its unfoldment. And so I actually tap in and allow myself to receive the support that the earth is here to provide. It allows me to grow roots into her so that I can feel the nourishment and the support. There's a sense of belonging without needing to fit in. And then chakra 2 allows me to access my wisdom without needing to know everything in advance, because that's where I'm connected to the one mind. And then chakra 3 allows me to know my sense of power. But because this is, like I said, where most of us carry the trauma, like when you were on a roller coaster on a kid, right? It's like you would feel the fear in the belly, or somebody like punched the air out of you. It's feel like, oh, right there. Right. So emotional punches land in that area. So as we start to clean house in the various energy centers, we feel more solid, steady, grounded, like we can tap into solutions and answers in real time, and we feel powerful, regardless of outside circumstances and experiences. So there's so much. Oh, and here's the other thing, Doctor. So not only do we hold the things from that were unprocessed from this lifetime in those chakras, she was talking the other day about us having something called a karmic sack. This, and that's located in chakra 2, and that is where we actually come in with stuff to resolve, to work through. So it's not even stuff that happens in this lifetime. It's like the stuff that we brought with us that our parents couldn't do, that our grandparents couldn't do. So not only are we healing ourselves as we do this work, but we're healing our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. And so I'll teach you a technique that she taught us the other day on how to address the karmic sack. I love this work. Iretta?
So because I don't really know a whole lot about chakras, the numbers go from the inside out.
So the numbers go, let me see if I have an image. I think I do. I do. So chakra 1 is located at the bottom of the pelvic bowl, where you squeeze the Kegel muscle. So that's chakra 1. Chakra 2, the sacral, is just below the belly button. Chakra 3, the solar plexus, are where your rib cage splices. Chakra 4 is your heart. And then chakra 5 is your throat. Chakra 6 is your third eye, which is in the middle of the forehead. And then chakra 7 is your crown chakra, which is just above the top of your head. And in this body of work, we work with these within the body. And then there's 8 and 9 and 10. And then 11 is the electric body, which is in the feet and in the hands and in the skin overall. So we'll learn more about the different chakras as we go from week to week. And then chakra 12 is where spirit comes into form. It's the unified field. So this is chakra 12, like the oval shape of where God is coming into physical form as you. So this is unity consciousness, just outside of this. So chakra 12.
Okay.
Right. So is it any wonder, right, that we experience health conditions when we're not living in all of these energy centers, fully holy all the time? Then this thing has to get our attention, or it can't be vibrant and strong because we're not living in all of these energy centers. It's almost like a tree that refuses to take in nourishment from the earth, right? And refuses to take in the moisture and the sun from the heavens. So we could use the tree as an example of how it is that we are supposed to allow ourselves to receive from both above and below, right? From Mother Earth and Father God. And in exchange, we share of our gifts and our talents with the world, because we're constantly being provided for from above and below, heaven and earth. So we actually become, now that you've seen the chakra system, we are the rainbow bridge that bridges heaven and earth. It is through us that God gets to share with the world. You're the thing that connects it. So this is exciting work, right? So if we're not living from the front side of the model, it's got to get our attention through whatever difficult, big experiences until we're able to realize, oh, I'm supposed to be breathing deeply into the body. I'm supposed to be living in all of these energy centers because they give me access to this way of being, knowing. And it's like, oh, okay, that's all it was information. There's nothing wrong with me, right? I'm not unworthy of anything. I just wasn't aware. So yeah, we'll spend more time with each individual chakra, Iretta, so that we learn the characteristics.
I'm sorry. I'm just kind of blown away by all of it. And it's like, wow, that's going to be a lot of work.
Right. But, we take it in increments, right? I've been in this conversation probably since 2016, more consistently since 2019. And I still will absorb like as much as I can at any given point. And then I'll be out doing something. And then it's like, oh, whatever it was that she said 6 months ago, like just made sense right now, you know?
I can see that being me. I can see that being me. I got a quick question. And you were talking about having your shoulders back to open up your heart space.
Mhm.
And what came through my mind then was that I really have bad posture, and that I don't, sitting like this is like my back is going, what are you doing? I have slight scoliosis, but not nothing major. But I mean, it just out of, I'm 58 almost, and I've just always, sat like this. Does that have anything to do with blocking anything?
Yes. It's
Okay.
called, it's called defense physiology. So the body finds a way to protect itself by doing this.
Oh, wow.
Mhm. So the practice is to begin to open it up and even do back bends when I can, to open me up, to let every aspect of me know I need protect myself from nothing. Those days are gone. My heart stays open.
Wow.
Mhm. Yeah, because our heart has been hurt in the past, it engages, it recruits the body into protecting it.
That explains a whole lot of stuff with my from my childhood, and my grandmother always telling me shoulders back, and I'm like, no, that hurts.
And Dr. Sue had scoliosis, I think pretty badly for a good portion of her life. And when she had an awakening and started like downloading, because her father created best bioenergetic synchronization technique, and she grew up in that environment. And then she had her own awakening and realization of these ancient teachings that have been around forever and how to apply them in today's world. And she healed her own scoliosis. She said that it began to unwind itself. So anything is possible. Oh, let's see. Any other questions or comments, Vanessa? No. Okay.
I'm just gonna chat it. I'm gonna unwind mine. That's what I feel like I'm in the middle of doing. I'm gonna. It's hurt. My body is. You've heard me cry that it hurts so much just to pull my shoulders back, and it's getting easier in the process. Though my body, ends up being like this, and I get to face it. I get to see
Mhm.
who I really am. But I think as I do it, it's opening, and I'm getting longer. So it is. So it's like, whoa, girl, it's just really neat thing. And for the first time today, when we did the channel breathing, I truly wasn't just imagining it. I actually felt the air go out of my feet. It's like the first time it's happened. So yay. So thank you.
And the other thing I wanted to share with regards to like that unwinding that begins to happen, part of the defensive physiology that the body holds itself in can show up like in the buttocks where we get sciatic, right? In the tension in the shoulders. So that the whole body starts to unwind and relax. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is that at the pelvic bowl, at the root chakra, right, is they when they draw it like a picture of a snake, and it's the Kundalini energy that gets to rise along the spine until it reaches the third eye, which is what happens for individuals like Jesus and Buddha when they reach levels of enlightenment. So as we start doing this kind of breath work, that energy starts to rise along the back of the spine, unwinding itself, right? Because it's like laying dormant and coiled, and then it starts to come up. And it'll move at whatever rate it's supposed to move at until one day you open up like a lotus flower. And you can see with your eyes closed, kind of thing. That's the potential for us anyway, right?
Okay.
Okay, so put on your seatbelts or
No kidding.
any final comments or questions, you guys?
I got one final question.
Mhm.
When we're doing the channel breathing and we're doing the kegels for the root chakra,
Mhm.
I find myself tensing up from the waist down, because I don't know, am I engaging that muscle too hard or whatever, or like even when I try to be mindful, and part of it probably has to do with my bad posture and I was in a car accident a couple of years ago, and so trying to, I know I'm probably out of alignment, like my spine is, just because of the trauma, but I'm just wondering, am I doing that right?
Probably. And the way to practice, this is going to sound kind of funny or gross, but while you're sitting on the toilet, right? And you need, so practice stopping your stream.
Okay.
And then you'll get better at not needing to engage the waist and the hips. And it'll isolate that muscle.
Okay.
Right? And you'll know
That was a good idea. That wasn't gross. It makes sense. Something we all do. Makes sense. But it's something I can practice. That's a practical application for me to practice it.
right, because you'll be able to hear and like, if it was effective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So this week, I believe, let me just double check. So I'm going to send you a description of all the various breath works. I'm going to send you a handout. It has a description of all the breath works that we're going to be working with over the 8 weeks. You can start practicing some of these, but always work with the central channel breath. Never not, Dr. Sue says. So this week we are readings chapter 1 and 2. I'm going to send you some questions so as you're reading chapters 1 and 2, I'm going to send you 3 questions that I want you to kind of be present with, so that we can discuss those next week in addition to the reading, and then implement some of the exercises from the chapters. All right, any final comments? Okay, wow, I hope it wasn't too much information. There's so much information, right?
Yeah.
But you can always
Thank you.
recording. Again, you're welcome. So thank you for signing up for this course, for staying engaged, for becoming engaged in the conversation. Based on my own experience, the longer I stay engaged, the more I understand, the more that I can implement, the more that I see undeniable shifts in my life, ways of being that will ultimately lead to our intentions being fulfilled. Right. So whatever your intention was that you set, and we'll come back to it at the end of the 8 weeks and see what has transpired with regards to the intention. All right, ladies, have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Reverend Cynthia.
Thank you.
You're welcome. See you guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.